right, let's talk about something you probably see all the time, but maybe don't really see. The metal roof over your head. We're diving into falls roofing. And trust me, this isn't just about slapping some metal down. No, this is a craft, a genuine art form that mixes precision engineering with a kind of artistry that's been perfected for generations. So the big question is, what does it actually take to master it? I think this quote from one of the experts in our source material, Alex Falms, just nails it. He says, "Falls roofing is like making Bavarian sausages. If you get it right, it's absolutely perfect. But if you get it wrong, well, let's just say you don't want to be eating that sausage. It really gets to the heart of it, right? You need precision, the absolute best ingredients, and a deep, deep understanding of the process. One tiny mistake, and the whole thing is a bust. The stakes are just that high."
So, how do you actually become a master of a craft like this? Well, it's not about luck, and it's not just about raw talent. The experts have basically figured out a clear, structured path. It's almost like an algorithm, really, that can take someone from being a total novice to a true, seasoned professional.
Okay, so this path to mastery breaks down into a three-stage journey. The experts use a classic model to describe it, using these specific terms: znania for knowledge, umenia for skill, and navik for what we'd call proficiency. You can think of it as a journey, right? You start with the theory, then you move to hands-on practice, and finally you get to real ingrained experience. So let's start at the beginning.
The first stage, znani or knowledge, all starts with a program called Fall Start. And get this, it's completely online. It's a theoretical deep dive. Before an apprentice even thinks about touching a piece of metal, they have to soak up all the fundamental principles. They need to understand the why behind every single fold, every seam, every decision. What's interesting is that this training isn't one size fits all. Because let's face it, not everyone has the same goal. Maybe you're just an enthusiast. You're curious, you want to watch and read. Or maybe you're a tradesperson, say a carpenter, looking to add a really valuable skill to your toolbox. You could even be a technical director who's responsible for building out an entire roofing team for multi-million-dollar projects. The point is, the path is designed to meet you exactly where you are. Okay, so once that theoretical foundation is solid, it's time to get your hands dirty. This is where we shift from the online Falls Start program to the offline Falls Master program. It's an intense in-person workshop where all that book knowledge starts to transform into real tangible skill. And when I say intense, I mean it. This is not casual weekend practice. To really forge that umeni, or skill, a trainee has to repeat one single standard joint at least 10 times on a simulator. And they do this for 2 months straight. They practice over and over until the movements are so ingrained, so automatic that they can, as the masters say, do it with their eyes closed. That's when you know it's becoming muscle memory. This quote really sums up the mindset you need in the workshop. It's not about forcing the metal. It's about feel. You have to learn how the copper behaves, how it wants to bend and fold. The strudel dough analogy is just perfect, isn't it? It's this delicate, precise wrapping process. If you get it wrong, you don't have a perfect seal. You've got a leaky pie. But here's the thing. Practicing on a simulator can only get you so far. The final stage, step 3, takes trainees out of the workshop and onto actual job sites. This is where their hard-earned skill gets put to the ultimate test against the chaos of the real world. This is where umianya is finally forged into true proficiency, what the experts call navik. And achieving that proficiency, that navik, requires one thing above all else: time on a real roof. This isn't something you can learn in a weekend seminar. Nope. It takes a full 7-month roofing season, basically from April to October, working alongside masters, and the experts are really clear on this. One of the biggest mistakes a rookie can make is taking a long break after training. You lose all that momentum. That continuous work is what turns a learned skill into a deep, instinctual mastery. Becoming a master isn't just about what you can do with your hands. It's also about what's in your head. To really be a part of this world, you have to learn to speak the language. And it's a pretty specialized vocabulary, with deep roots in German, which is where this whole craft really originated. So let's start with the most fundamental word of all: falls. It literally just means fold or seam. That's it. This is the absolute basic building block. It's the one action folding metal that, when you repeat it and combine it in different ways, creates an entire watertight, long-lasting roof. Every single other term we're going to talk about builds on this one simple idea. So building on that basic fold, you get into more advanced stuff, like the Bunderfalz. This is a special, super reliable seam that you use for really tricky angles on a roof. And here's a cool way to remember it. The experts say to think of the Swiss mountains. You know, strong, dependable, and masterfully engineered. That's exactly what a Bunderfalz is designed to be. And it's not just about the seams, it's also about the tools. This right here is the Traufinkante. It's a special framing tool you use for the eave, that's the bottom edge of the roof. The experts literally call it a roofer's best friend. Why? Because without it, your edge is going to be crooked, guaranteed. This tool makes sure the very first line of the roof is perfectly straight, which basically sets the entire project up for success.
So you might be asking, why all these different names and techniques? Well, it all comes down to physics. A master roofer has to make a critical call based on the pitch or steepness of the roof. If the roof is really steep, over 25 degrees, think something like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, water just shoots right off, so a simple seam does the job. But if you're on a very gentle slope, one that's almost flat like a pancake, you need a much more robust, double-standing seam to stop water from slowly seeping in.
Now, with all this complexity, it's pretty easy for a beginner to make a mistake. But according to all the experts, there is one error that is more common, more subtle, and way more costly than any other. Any guesses what it might be?
The answer is something called the Auge, which is German for eye. It's a tiny, pinprick-sized hole that can form right where the metal is folded. It is almost impossible to see with the naked eye, but just one of these little eyes can let in enough water to compromise the entire roof, leading to thousands and thousands of dollars in damages. It's pretty much the ultimate proof that in this craft, there is absolutely zero room for error. So when you put it all together, this whole journey really reveals the master's mindset. It's this belief that practice and only practice makes the master. You have to follow the blueprints with what the experts call German punctuality. Precision is everything. And if you hit a snag, you don't force it. You take a break, you step back. And above all, you have to understand that you're not just building a structure. You're creating a unique, durable piece of art. And that really just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. The next time you're walking around and you look up at a metal roof, whether it's on some historical building or a brand new house, just ask yourself this. Are you looking at just a structure? Or are you actually looking at a work of art, something meticulously crafted by a true master?